What is going on, guys? Baby Wolf Cam here from Lilac, and I'm about to give you a deep dive into our song Undertow. Both our songwriting process and a lot of bloops and bloops and a lot of hidden things that you probably didn't hear the first listen. Let's get into it. And I don't know why I'm going out of my mind. I lost control of my decision. Okay, so a little background on this song is, at least she came with this idea. I was like, hey, I want to combine Linkin Park and Bring Me the Horizon. And it can mean a lot of things. You want that musically, you want feeling, you want a lot of different things. So I was trying to kind of narrow down and figure out what to pick from these different things. What should we add ourselves? What should we kind of build upon, and what should we create? And so I did a lot of research into Linkin Park and kind of how they write music. So one thing I definitely did not want to take from Linkin Park, especially with the era that we were trying to grab from, is like the Hybrid Theory, Meteora era that just kind of changed music forever. The production on that is cool, but it's not, doesn't sound modern. It's not sparkly. It's kind of muffled. It's not super clear. And obviously today's music is very, very hi-fi, very clear. So how can I take kind of that sound that they had, which is a little bit gritty, a little bit muffled, especially in their electronics. A lot of it's kind of messed up in a good way, as opposed to hyper clarity. They're fine if it's a little bit overly distorted, a little bit crunchy, a little bit messed up, or a little bit pitched wrong or sampled sounding. They're fine with that, which I think really works well in their music. So that's kind of where I started with this song, and something I like to do as well as this is using elements that are pitched elements, melodic elements, as rhythmic elements. I'll show you what I mean here, especially just right in this intro. So okay, so there's actually a lot of elements here. So dun 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 dun. Even if I don't play the notes with that, I went into a slightly catchy rhythm. But there's a bunch of other elements here that are kind of doing subtle things. So you have this. So you can hear that main melodic line, but you also hear, if you listen, it's dum 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 dum. So I have this bass element that doesn't hit on the ones, it hits the and one. And one, and one, and one. You'll hear that underlying and one rhythm a lot throughout this song. So you hear that a lot. And so what I'm doing, instead of having dun 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 dun, which is a pretty normal kick snare pattern, I'm actually doing that with a synth element. So your mind doesn't really care, it just has that vibe, and it allows me to have that bounce because I'm doing a lot of syncopation, but I'm not doing it with a drum. I end up doing it with drums as well, but that frees up the drums so they can focus on other things because we're doing percussion with and kind of the bounce with multiple elements here. And you'll see a lot more of this when we get to the verse. So let's break down all these elements just in this first little blah 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 sound. So we have, which I would say is the motif, which really comes in when. So the way we made that sound is that's actually my voice in there. Shh, don't tell anybody. So inside here, I literally just sampled my own voice, put some reverb on it first. We'll ditch the reverb for a second. Not particularly beautiful, but when we put some reverb on it, which reverb do we use? The Black Hole by Eventide, because I use that on everything. So it really just puts that back here as this depth. It's I call it the Blade Runner reverb because it's just wide and big and huge and sounds wonderful. Okay, and then we go into a filter, but I put a lot of resonance on this, so it kind of makes a peak on it. So, which I really like. Because it's a little too, the original sound is too clear, but just doesn't sound very good. So this kind of muffles it up in a beneficial way here. Okay, and then I go into, I don't really think I've ever used this plugin except for this one place, but what I'm doing is putting some bright EQ. This is actually changing the sound pretty significantly. Because I really needed some drive, some overdrive. Because the thing is, this is a sampled sound, meaning I just record the sound and then I'm pitching it up, which has this cool kind of jarring sound when you move it around, which is cool, but it also can kind of make certain loud sound, the higher sounds, sound very, very, very different than the lower sounds pitched around. If you crunch them up, put some distortion, put some compression, kind of squeeze them all together, it makes them a far more unified sounding sound. And this time I just used the distortion and this whatever random Chris Lord algae plugin. Cool. And then goes into some reverb, do some delay, and not a lot of little things here, basically. So that's pretty close to the original sound. And then I just did some, the lows were a little bit too prominent on it, so I kind of just gently rolled them off. And then I have a filter, which I use in other parts of the song. And in this first part, I have this little radio effect that I have. Just basically make it sound crappier in a good way. That's what I want it to sound crappier, so when it comes in, it's like, oh yeah, this punches in. And then at the beginning, I'm just sweeping through that filter. Cool. Okay, so that's that main little synthy thing here. And then after that, we go into... I really like this sound, and so it's kind of a little bit more complicated than the other ones. So there's a lot of things going on here. First, there's actually 2 synths that I use in here. I often will stack synths, like use several synths in the same chain. And basically you can run a synth, put a couple effects, then run the next synth, and they're all using the same MIDI, but then it kind of forces them all to get squished together, and the later effects will affect both synths, which I find, especially when you're using 2 different instruments, like they can, and I want them to sound similar and kind of as one instrument, because this sounds like one instrument. It's 2, and that means I did a good job. So the first instrument is this little weird alien sounding synth, and I'm just using I think I just used a preset on this and then just tweaked it a little bit. That's what I have to do. I do a lot of my processing with effects. I'll take a cool preset, modify the things that I need on it, and then do a heavy amount of processing after the effect. Maybe because I played guitar too much when I was younger. So I'm doing some pretty heavy compression on this, because I don't want this sound, this is more of just kind of, and I'm clipping it actually. But again, this is just for that first little alien sound. And then after that, we go into some Spitfire audio stuff. This is a free plugin. A lot of stuff I use is free, but this particular one is cool. And this one sounds so pretty. So I'll mute the... just like kind of like is overly gritty and kind of plays on top of itself and like pushes wrong, and I just like it. It's wrong in all the right ways. It has just a lot of interesting character. So we put those together. So then like the weird alien sound of the other one kind of like really adds a lot of texture, so it has this kind of complex sound happening. Down, 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 down. And again, focus on boom, 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 boom. So after that, we go into some EQ, which I boost a huge amount of low highs. Got rid of it. That's without it. Really thins it up. Okay, and then I go into this. I use this plugin a lot. Basically, if I need to make something like stereo just a little bit, it gets real chorusy and unpleasant, I find, usually. But I just use a fair amount of this, so if you're not using headphones, this won't be massively different to you, but... So these 2 plugins are basically, their job is to take things from here and put them here. I don't want it super wide. This is still kind of almost a lead element, but... Gonna put it back on. So it pushes it back just a little bit and puts it right here. And basically what this does is takes like the 2 signals on the left and rights, which for this plugin I actually think are just about the same before this point, and slightly detunes them, just slightly, not a massive way. So the left and right are slightly different. And then I do this thing all the time where I'm using a slap delay, where it's super, super fast. It's 42 milliseconds on the left side and 67 milliseconds on the, so almost instant. So it has this like, but they're slightly different. Again, I'm trying to create a stereo. Stereo sound just means a sound that has different information on the left and the right. And so the original sound wasn't very stereo, and I need it to be because I want some width to it. So basically, I'm just creating subtle but musical and tasteful differences between the left and the right. And we go into, I don't use this plugin anymore because it uses a lot of CPU unnecessarily, but it sounds good. I do like the sound of it. It's got high pass and low pass. It's just a left and right delay. And again, I'm putting like it's doing a quarter note on one side, quarter note on the other side, so it should be the same, but you can do a slight differential between the two. Again, I'm just slowly adding differences to make this mono signal a little bit wider. And that's just a delay. Clap, clap, clap. Not a whole lot. Did I even do anything? Nope, this plugin, doing a little bit of EQ, and that's it. Yay. And then there's a tiny little piano in here at the end. You can barely hear it in the final sound. It's actually doing a harmony. Nice. And yep, and then other than that, so there's actually four or five synths just in this intro. So dun, 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 just doing quarter notes, then the last one just doubles it up. So again, this is like barely an audible sound at all. Yeah, just like you barely hear it all. It's just there to add some like 16th note super fasties. What is going on here? I was using wave synths a lot at this time. So I'm just probably used a preset and tweaked it. Probably almost, and then using recomp. This is just for sidechain compression. And a filter. I use Kernu as this is an arpeggiator. Again, I just downloaded this one at some point in the very, very distant past, and it's the one I have. If you have a better arpeggiator that I can grab, please let me know. It works fine. Okay. So we'll play with everything now. And then finally, I have this little, just a symbol that you take a symbol and you reverse it, and then you chop off the beginning so it doesn't have the ch, just a ch. So it's basically just the reverse of that. So that kind of like builds that anticipation. Yeah, and so halfway through this, I start reintroducing that. Down, 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 down. Okay, now we're onto the second verse. And so I'm using that same intro synth. And notice it's that same dum, 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 dum. I like that. 4, 1 and 1, 1 and 1, 1. I'm trying to create a rhythm without percussion. So I had to have a kick and snare, like a glitched up one happening here, but I really want the synth to actually be driving this part. And so notice like these are really rhythmic synths that are happening here. Da 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 1 da 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 da. So again, using non-percussion elements to be the percussion. Okay, and then we're back to. So adding this dun 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 dun. You notice if you'll see here, I do this a lot, where instead of kind of coming out 1, 2, 3, 4, I go 1, 2, 3, and then change before the chord. I do that a lot. Kind of adds this anticipation and keeps it from just being super boring. Changing, it adds a little bounce. And then I had this little drum loop. I probably got this off Splice, and then I splice it up and change. I often get I like using drum loop splices just where you can download a button, like you pay a subscription and you get access to a huge amount of samples. And something like this, where I don't need to, I could make this myself, but somebody else already made it. It's just for a little glitched up part. I don't need to do anything fancy with it. I don't think I processed it at all. Looks like I did. But often I'll cut them up, kind of, you see a lot of little glitches here that I made it to make it my own. Yeah, and on the last iteration of this, actually, I do a harmony of the same. So I'm playing the exact same rhythm, same vibe, everything, but that last one I actually go up a third and play a harmony of itself. You don't really notice it, but I wanted to kind of escalate a little bit into that final chord, or into that final part right before the chorus. And so that guitar has that bounce on it. These are the original scratch tracks, so if you want to hear what. So instead of just so that with the bounce of the synth, we're all adding our own little percussive, like rhythmic elements here. So this means that the drum's job is not just to carry the entire bounce of the whole song. All the elements are kind of doing their part. And so that means that this can be the counter rhythm for the drums. So we have like 3 rhythms happening here. And we're not even talking about vocals yet. Like this is just here. But they're still bouncy enough and inaudible enough that there's a lot of things that they could have sung on top of this. Because that's the struggle. You can write interesting instrumentals and then just screw up your vocalists because they have like one thing or nothing that they can actually sing on top of what you wrote. I try not to do that. You're welcome, guys. So when they put these vocals on, I'm drowning, da 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 da. They can have this like staccato bouncy thing because there's so much bounce happening in other places that they have lots of rhythms that they can play off of. And they don't have to be spitting a huge amount of things because the music will carry it with them. And so you have these basically four distinct rhythms. So you have the bass and guitar, they're kind of playing the same thing. You have this main synth. You have the actual drums, the kick and snares, and hi-hats that or cymbals that are happening there. And then finally the vocals. And so together, if we did our job right, this collage of all these things that are all bouncing in the right way. So. Okay, second verse. So I wanted the second verse to be bigger than the first verse, but have a very similar vibe. So I leave the real drums in here. It doesn't have that glitched up little synth beat like this one. And instead of playing that with this cool little weird Spitfire audio sound, I'm actually playing it with the guitar now. Same part. So they're playing the exact same thing, but the guitar, especially live, is going to be a little bit louder. Yeah, I'm not happy about it either, but it's okay. People mix guitars loud. It's fine. I should just play guitar instead of keyboard. Yeah, and so Sketty plays this live. So I play the first verse, he plays the second verse. So we're playing the exact same part, effectively. And then halfway through, there's actually a piano that comes in. And it does that harmony as well. So. Yeah, so we get the piano there and the guitar actually play this cool little like melodic dance there. This is little details you're not going to notice because it's like really a vocal focused song, but it's the stuff that makes me happy. And so that piano comes in halfway through that second verse and then plays like a nice like starts doubling the guitar, and then they kind of do this weird, not quite harmony, but it's pseudo harmony where sometimes they're going up and down together, sometimes they're like just harmony. I really like it. And I love that. I love this something one, lead in kind of phrases that one. I put those all over the place because it really kind of glues those parts together. It has this rolling over feel that like really like not creates anticipation, but I think really glues parts together. Weirdly, I think Post Malone does that really well. He has these vocal phrases that like kind of aren't complete in there, like they complete on the one of the next phrase, and so it really combines things together. And I think that's really cool. And maybe my favorite part of this whole song is something that no one hears but me. Ye old plucky boy. Okay, so that guitar playing adds this really pretty sound, and I really like it. It's like this medieval pluck sound or something. I really like it. It's really, again, I used this is a Spitfire audio, it's Moon Glades. It's these weird kind of, they're not super useful because they're very distinctive and sounds, and it's a plucked baritone violin, and just really a nice just sound. And I hit a 1176 because why not? I wanted to contain a little bit and just roll off the low end. Yeah, it's a little too bassy. So pretty though, and it's really plucky. So I wanted to add just a little bit of like spit, because the guitar's not that plucky, and so this allows me to kind of add some like subtle attack to that guitar. Yeah, and then we go into the same chorus. I have a bad habit of not writing multiple guitar parts, and basically the guitar part is just like double, write the exact same thing on both sides. I did an okay job here, because one, and again you see that do one, do one, do one. So like I'm using that thing where I bounce into right before the one, play something into the one. One. So it adds that bounce. We kind of now had that constant theme of that feeling. So even we're playing very different notes here, and the rhythm's slightly different. I mean, it's noticeably different, but I still have that same bounce. So like I'm keeping something that keep you grounded throughout this entire song. I just love how like random notes of that like kind of peek out, and some of them are just trying to like escape, and like that sound is just so like rich and complex and weird. See, and it's like those two synths don't really like know how to play very well together, and I like it. They kind of make this like sound that I don't exactly know what it's gonna do, and I like sounds that have personality because they kind of push you in ways that you wouldn't normally think to push yourself. Throw some chaos in there. Like make me deal with it. If it's too much, we'll dial it back, but like inspire me a little bit. As far as this riff, I think Elise wrote a lot of this. So I wrote the original part, and we kind of went through a couple of iterations on this, and she just riffed this whoa, 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 and then we kind of tweaked it. So I wrote a couple of them, and they just didn't really work. Originally, it was kind of this structure. Then we went to this thing where basically the first half of this, like Sketty's just like just ripped this really cool solo on top of it. And he wrote a really good solo, and we ended up using 0 of it. Sorry, Sketty. Do I have a copy of it laying around? I don't. I'm sorry. And it ended up getting cut. So we went back to this kind of, this like anthematic, like really open. And he's playing this cool riff where the dun 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 dun, the synth's playing most of what the guitar is playing, but the guitar is playing a couple of more notes. So I like when things almost play the same thing, so they layer kind of cool. And then it goes into that whoa whoas here. I really like, where is this? I hear it. This sound right here. This wow. Just super wet, like and it really just sits, and like you don't really even hear it, just kind of. Because it's such a busy part, and the rhythm's like really catchy. We didn't want to mess with that, but we wanted something to like kind of add that soaring feel to it. And so, but one again, like we leave space on that one and busy up the right before the ones, because we do that throughout this song. It's kind of like the rhythmic like trick that we use throughout this to kind of give the flavor of Undertow in this song musically. Okay, and then. We go back, basically playing the intro. Cut out. So I guess one thing, when we took the song to the producer, they're like, "This sounds really good." By the time we took it, we had written and rewritten it a bunch of times, and we were pretty happy with it. I think the only thing, like, distinctive change that really happened was they put the bridge at the end. So it goes through, we play this chorus, this little thing, we move this. Basically just like stuck the bridge here at the end. So, thanks Joe, good idea. Yeah, it's nothing super crazy on this song as far as pieces go. I mean, the big thing is like have good sounding elements. Be very intentional. You don't have to have a million elements. Be very intentional on all those elements that you do have. I found like, especially the synth sounds, I really like. They were really rich. They were unique, but they worked in the song. And yeah, song did turn out really well. And, yeah, any questions? I don't know. Ask them. I'd be happy to show you anything. I didn't really talk about the vocals because you guys can hear the vocals on the real one. And I think pretty much what we ended up having was pretty close to what we ended up recording. There was not any secret sauce that we unleashed in the studio. They did a really good job writing these, and the final stuff was I really liked. I think really suits the song. So, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm Baby Wolf. See you next time.